Welcome to Youth for America's iDevo video devotion. Today we're going to talk about our devotion, What's Your Excuse? So in our devotion today we're discussing I can't versus I can. And throughout the entire Bible we see stories of people who had to choose between I can't or with God's help, I can. So from the 12 Israelite spies who went checking out the promised land to the 12 disciples sitting on a boat to our story today about David and Saul, we see people who had to decide whether they could accomplish something that was going on or if it was just impossible and there was nothing they can do. Well, in our story, this huge giant representing the Philistine army is taunting the entire army of Israel. And the guy was big. He was taller than everybody else. He was bigger than everybody. He was stronger than everyone. And the Israelites were all scared. Nobody wanted to face him. Everyone was afraid. So for day in, day out, days on end, this giant comes up challenging everybody to fight him. And nobody will. They all cower and they hide afraid. They did nothing. They didn't even try to deal with the problem. Well, along comes David. He was just a little shepherd boy. He was a young man, probably about middle school age. And he shows up, sees this huge giant taunting the Israelite army, and he says this. He says, "Who is this guy to defy the armies of the living God? You know what? I'll go out and fight him because God will be with me and I'll defeat him." Well, I'm sure you can imagine this wasn't received too well. Everybody starts telling him all the reasons why there's no way he can defeat Goliath. Even the king steps in and looks at this young boy and says in 1 Samuel 17:33, "You are not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for you are but a youth, while he has been a warrior from his youth." Man, that's pretty tough. Everybody from his brothers and sisters to the king to the entire army thinks he can't do it. Nobody's good enough. Well, guess what? How many times have you guys been in that situation? You get in a situation where maybe you even think you can't do something or somebody else tells you there's no way you can accomplish that. Well, that's the boat David was in, and he had a choice to make. He could choose to join the I can't crew and just sit there cowering from Goliath, or he could choose something else. What I'll tell you is a few verses later we find out what David chose, and in verse 37 he says, "The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear, he will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine." How powerful is that? You know, David understood he was just a boy. There was no way he could defeat the best military person in the opposite army. But he knew something else. He knew that his weaknesses didn't matter. He knew that his inadequacies didn't matter because he knew that it was God who was going to empower him in the fight. The Lord who helped him defeat a lion, the Lord who helped him defeat a bear, would help him defeat this enemy warrior. Now, maybe you guys are dealing with a situation like that. You think, there is nothing in my power I can do. I'm too weak. I'm not strong enough. I don't know enough. There's all these reasons you might have for why you think you're not good enough to accomplish what God has challenged you to do. Well, let me tell you this. When you start with an attitude of failure, all you're going to ever accomplish is failure. You can't let I can't prevent you from accomplishing what God can. And that's our challenge today, to turn around and decide that when God places something on us, to choose I can. For those 12 spies who were checking out the promised land, an entire nation of adults never got to see it. They wandered in the desert for 40 days. But those two men, Joshua and Aaron, who said I can, they went into the promised land. For those 12 disciples sitting on that boat, 11 of them sat in a boat, but Peter, who said I can, walked on water. The truth is, we've got to make a choice. And that choice is to allow God to use us, to empower us, to equip us, and to change us, and to use us to accomplish His purposes. It means actually trying. Because I'll tell you this, if you don't try, then you'll live with the biggest regret of your life. It's much better to try and fail and to then try again and pick yourself back up than to live with regret of never having tried at all. So I'm going to challenge you guys today, quit making excuses for how you will fail before you even start, and change your outlook from I can't to with God's help, I can. We'll catch you guys next time. Thank you for tuning in to our iDevo video devotion.